This time on Kitty Litter Garage, baby no longer have back.
Oh my God, Becky, look at her butt.
For months now, I've been tearing down this Lincoln Aviator, removing parts, bundling and labeling wires, and getting everything ready for the next phase of this project. Up until now, I've cut nothing. If I change my mind, I could always bolt things back together and pretend none of this happened. Well, that ends today. The goal of this build is to combine the modern chassis, drivetrain, and technology of the Lincoln with the classic body of my 64 F100. And to make that happen, we're going to have to remove a pretty significant portion of the Aviator. And by significant, I mean we're cutting the entire back half off. Now, I've measured, double-checked, and stared at these cut lines for a lot longer than I care to admit to. But once the saw starts cutting, there's no undo button. We're either making a huge step forward in this project, or I'm creating a very large piece of garage art. Either way, today we find out. I'm Marty, and this is Kitty Litter Garage. Welcome. Well, there's no better time than the present. Now, let's get some hearing protection on there. A little harder here since it's all doubled up, but this is going to be fun. Let's see if I can pull myself up here. Shit. Okay. Yeah! Well, that was the easy cut. Straight through, don't have to worry about hitting anything. The floor is going to take a little bit more. Now, as you can see under here, all the AC lines and the fuel lines are along the body and not the frame, which means I'm going to have to loosen nuts like those and pull them away from the body. I wanted to bypass the lines going underneath the Lincoln before I started cutting into them and potentially drain all the coolant out. So here I found the main line going down underneath the frame and I'm cutting out this little T and putting in a splice. So I'm just cutting it out. I'm going to replace it with a brass splice. Okay. You can see the line that's going south of the T is the one that goes underneath the car. So I'm just cutting it out. Now I had to handle the return a little bit differently because it joins an engine compartment right there and then heads off to the heater core. So there's no rubber hose in this area. So I had to go down into the fender well, cut it off there, and just put a plug at the end. Okay, now that I got those hoses taken care of, it's time to start on the floor. You can see I've got everything marked out there. I got a little protection up here to keep the little chips out of my wires because you don't want to get a little piece of metal in the connection. Anyway, ready? Let's hit it. I need some longer blades. Cool. Well, as you could have noticed, I think I need a longer blade. So let's switch that sucker out. Nice long blades. Cool. Now there's a little bit of coolant in there. Let me go clean that up. Switching to the longer blades definitely made this a little easier. Having to go through several layers of metal to get through these rocker panels. Here you see me starting to use the shears. The gas tank is right under that floor, about an inch, maybe inch and a half, and I didn't want to do anything that would either puncture the tank or produce sparks near the tank, so the shears was the best option. Little hard to get through areas where it may be two layers of sheet metal or spot welded together. But once I got it through, it just went through it like butter. Luckily, all the blades that I used were carbide tip, which they didn't dull very fast, which was a huge benefit. Now I jump to the other side and start cutting through the rocker. Then I remembered there was something underneath here that I didn't want to hit. 2 brake lines and the parking brake cable. So I continuously went under there to make sure I was staying away from them. Spent more time crawling under the car than I did actually cutting through that rocker. Once again, I didn't think too much of camera placement until I finally decided to move the camera to give everyone a better shot. And this is about the same time the camera overheated. It was about 96 degrees in my garage and 42% humidity. The camera didn't like it very much. Unfortunately, I didn't realize the camera had shut down and I lost cutting of the floor. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to start the camera until after I got the gantry crane over the top of my Lincoln. Here I am spreading out my lifting hooks. These are the same ones that I used when I lifted the bed off the F-100. In my opinion, it worked pretty slick. Let's see if we can get this going here. Okay. Right here, I make a fatal flaw for someone who's trying to be a cameraman, and I set my step ladder right in front of the camera. Go Marty. Oh, I forgot about the spare. Okay, let's put this down. See if we can ditch the spare. Ah, me, dumbass. And here's where I forgot all about the filler neck. There was only 3 bolts and 1 had pulled out. It was pretty quick and easy to remove. There we go. Let's try this again. And then I also had to cut the vent tube. I did want to get my head up underneath the fender and figure out where it ended, so it was easier and safer for me just to go up as far as I could and cut it. Ah, shit, this was in the way most of the time. That fucking sucks. Eight months and several YouTube videos later, I've got the back half of this thing off. There it is, sitting over there by its lonesome under the Mustang. You can see all the chassis down here. This is the reason why I was having a little trouble. You can see I had a wire right there where I didn't want to cut through on this side. The gas tank is why I used the shears over a Sawzall or death wheel. And we'll go around to the other side. You can see down here I had a brake line and the parking brake cables. Didn't want to nick those with that long blade that I bought. But we got it done, and it went a lot quicker than I was expecting. And then pulling it up with the straps that I had for the bed, that seemed to work out pretty good. Even though I did forget a couple of things. I forgot to remove the spare tire, and I forgot to undo the bolts there for the gas filler neck. But that just slowed me down for a couple minutes. It was no big deal. Next time, we plan on cutting down the rest of this, taking out the windshield, cutting it down to dash level, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll put the dash back in and take this thing for a little ride. Wouldn't that be fun? Anyway, thanks for joining me on this adventure. My name is Marty, and this is Kitty Litter Garage. Let's build something awesome.